everybody, and welcome. I hope you're enjoying our 1K bash this week. I have winners for you. I'm going to show you how I choose the winners, and I'm going to tell you a little bit, because I like to teach, how you could create something like this as well. And
Hi, everybody. I hope the sound is coming through okay. Let me know. And here's our classic Osage 4 diamonds. Hello, George.
How are you?
Great. Thanks for coming.
I saw your thing and I thought, this will be interesting.
Yeah. Do you have a string?
Yeah. How big a piece of string do I need?
You want about a 1 meter, 3 feet, tied into a loop. The traditional measure is to hold the string in one hand and then stretch out your arms as wide as they'll go, and that double arm length is about right.
That's more than a meter.
A little more.
Depends how big your wings are.
Yeah. Well, it does help for kids with shorter arms to use that rather than an arbitrary length, because for kids you want a shorter string.
Yeah. When did you get into this when you were teaching?
I did. I was an avid string gamer as a child. Um, my sister Eva Bess, whom I'm sure
Right?
you remember, she and I used to play a lot, and I did it all through my childhood. And then I didn't really think about string much until I started studying anthropology in college, and it's a part of anthropology studies. There's a joke about how that the definition of an anthropologist is somebody who always has a piece of string in their pocket.
Interesting.
And
It's all over the world, right?
what's that?
It's all over the world.
It is truly a human universal. That's one of the things that I find so exciting about string is that it's really a way to get in touch with our common cultural heritage, because every culture has some kind of string play, and many of the very complicated figures that you would think are not that easy to reinvent show up in widely different parts of the world. And there are some cultures that have extremely elaborate, complicated figures that are mathematically quite challenging. It's quite something. So, and what I especially got excited about just was about a little over 10 years ago. I did an art integration workshop through our county office of ed for teachers. And I just had this idea as we were doing that I could create a whole curriculum around string figures. And so I started doing that. And then just as a substitute teacher, and then I got asked to take on a long-term job for a music teacher who had to take a leave of absence. And I said, well, I can't teach music, but I'll make up this curriculum around string and try to do that for a whole semester. And it was so much fun. And I just loved it. And the kids loved it. And I've gone on to do that in just about every elementary school in Watsonville. So,
and how ancient is it? I mean, are there mentions of it in antiquity?
Oh, it is there. Yes, there are. And it is, I think it relates in the sense that it's extremely ancient in the sense of the use of string as a record keeper is one of those things. You know, the Inca quipus are quite well known as and they were presented in. When I was studying anthropology, 40 years ago, the quipus were mentioned as just a sort of record keeping, how you got inventoried your goods. Well, there was an article recently by an anthropologist who had spent years developing trust with an ancient village where people remembered and had a box of treasure that contained a whole sheaf of quipus in different fibers and different colors, and their received knowledge was that this was actually the story of the whole history of their clan. And wow. A combination of different fibers and different spacings of the knots, you can produce an alphanumeric system that's as complicated as any alphabet known. So there's an example from a really ancient culture of an elaborate whole language, really, that's done in string, that's done in fiber.
I've seen them in the National Museum in Santiago. Fabulous playthings.
Right. So, well, I was going to start with just telling the first story that I came up with, which I love. And this is not one that I'll teach now, but I will go over it. But I just thought, since there may be some people watching who don't don't know even quite what a string story is, that I would just tell one. So here's a
You want to come see?
hello.
Yay!
Nice to see you.
We've been missing you.
All right. Well, I'm so glad. This is George is an old friend of mine from junior high school days.
Wow.
And Bernard and Wesley and Marin are students who've done a story class with me, and then we did some string game work as well. So I invited them to come, and so I'm going to start with that story of the crab and the octopus. So the story is about a little crab. See the pincers of the crab, and the little crab is walking along on the beach. It's a nice sunny day, and she's enjoying. Just all of a sudden, she gets very nervous because she looks back and she sees, who is that has lots of legs and likes to eat crabs? It's the octopus coming. And so the little crab knows she's got to get away. And she's running and running and running. And finally, she comes to a cave. And she goes in that cave and she looks around, but there's no place to hide in that cave. So she keeps going until she comes to a second cave. Still no place to hide. Finally, in the third cave she comes to, there's a little pile of seaweed off in the corner, and she starts gathering up the seaweed. And then she sees some more seaweed in this other corner. She gathers and gathers and makes a big pile until she's got enough seaweed. She crawls under and hides. And she thinks, oh, whew, now I'm safe. But then who comes along? You might think it's the octopus, but no. It's the scissorfish. Now, there really is no such thing as a scissorfish. I made it up for the story. But in the story, the scissorfish only likes to eat seaweed. Uh-oh. So the scissorfish comes swimming into the cave and starts eating up all the seaweed. Munch, 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 until the seaweed is all gone. And the poor little crab is sitting there with nothing protecting her. And then who comes along? The octopus. And the octopus comes closer and closer and closer. And the little crab says, well, I tried running away and that didn't work. And I tried hiding and that didn't work. Maybe I can scare him. And she jumps up and pinches a toe, and the octopus runs away. So that's the story of the crab and the octopus. Wow. And that traditional figure is usually the scissors is part of it. There's other stories, but it's usually done as a net or a broom. There's lots of other, that whole story was just my first inspiration to come up with this idea of telling stories with string. So, Bernard, do you have a string handy? Are you going to join us? Yeah, cool. Okay. So the basics that I like to give start with finger games. So first thing is, show me all your fingers like this. All 10 fingers up in the air. And now stretch them out really wide. Stretch those fingers. And now squeeze them all together like this. Straight. Keep them straight, but tight. And now we're going to open the middle. 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Just like a pair of scissors. Open and close. So we're developing those muscles in the fingers so we have lots of control. Now squeeze them together again. And this time open out the pointer and little finger and leave the 2 in the middle together. We're not worried about the thumbs right now. And now we go back and forth. Middle, outside. Middle, outside. And then, of course, the advanced version is you do middle on one side, outside on the other, and then you try and switch back and forth.
I did this years ago. Haven't done it in years.
This actually is an exercise that my father taught me when I was a child that he used to use as a neurological test. It was taught in the Swiss medical school that he went to as a basic neurology test. And then, of course, the other one is make a fist like this. Hold up one fist and now point with the other hand. Now, the pointing hand makes a fist and the fist hand points. And now fist, point, 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 fist, point. See how fast you can go. Oh, you got really good coordination, George. That's very impressive. Most people get all flustered the first time they try it. Is that one you'd already done before?
I probably have done that one at some point in my life, but not like that.
Uh-huh.
It's really easy to do. It's just like.
Yeah, you like that one, Bernard, huh?
I know.
And then, of course, the other thing is just doing finger calisthenics. Pointer fingers bend, middle fingers bend, ring fingers bend, little fingers bend. That's usually the hardest one.
Yeah.
Thumb, reach all the way across to the other side of the palm. Now shake them out.
Actually, I actually had carpal tunnel surgery about 3 months ago.
Oh my word. you need to keep doing this. Good exercise. So the basics are, and I'm actually going to add one more to the list, which is making a double. Because for Bernard, for some of these, I think it would be good for you to have a shorter string, Bernard. So the way to make a double is, if you take your string and just put one hand through, so you just have one string on the back of your wrist like this, and then you take the string that's near to you and go under your hand and back up over the hand. So now there's two on the back of this hand. And then you reach up to the top and pull those two up. And that gives you a double loop that's half as long. So with that, the first basic is one thumb, then the other thumb in the same direction away from you. So that way, when you open it up, you're sure that there's no cross in the loop. Then you turn your hands to face each other like this and go into the bottom with the little fingers. And that rectangle is called position 1. This is the nomenclature of string. And then we're going to take one pointer finger and go across to the other side and under that string on the palm, bring it back. Then the other pointer finger goes across and picks up the palm string in between the other two. And then it should look like this. And that's called opening A. Some people who remember doing Jacob's, doing the cat's cradle game where you go back and forth, get confused, because this looks a little like how you would begin the cat's cradle game, but that actually has a different start. So this one is for the single person finger.
Can I just say what it is?
Yeah, you remember?
Cup and saucer. I'm just gonna finish.
So now,
Cup and saucer.
drop the thumbs. So you just have a plain X. And now drop the pointer fingers as well. So it's just on your two little fingers. Now your hands are pointing away from you like this. Palms are facing each other. Now stick your thumbs straight up in the air. Rotate so the thumbs are down below the strings and stick them away from you so they're underneath those strings. And then turn your palms to face each other again, and the thumbs pick up that double string, and you've made a table. This is one of the simplest basic string figures that I learned from Ann Glover, who's a wonderful string game storyteller. And I just love this figure. I had an opportunity last year to teach kindergarten kids. And this is one of those figures that anyone can succeed at. And it was just great for the kindergartners to
Also,
have
everyone
something.
can see it on a cup and saucer.
And that's the next thing I was going to teach was cup and saucer. So now go back to position 1. Thumbs, little fingers. Now crisscross to make opening A. Crisscross with the pointers. There's your opening A. Now the thumbs are going to go over the very first string that goes across between the pointer fingers and under the next string that goes across behind the pointer fingers. And now if you look at the thumbs, you have 2 strings on each thumb.
And then you pull it over on the bottom
And
thumb.
then you can pull it over, or with this short string, it's actually pretty easy to just dip your thumbs together like this and then dip them down under that straight string so it goes over. I used to teach it to use your mouth to pull over, but because of COVID, I don't teach that way anymore.
Okay, I'm already
So
done.
now that you've got that, let go the little fingers, pull with the thumbs, and that is the cup and saucer.
Look, I like how it's just. I like not having to use our fingers.
All right, you got it, Bernard. That's great.
It's easy.
It is, isn't it? It's one of those wonderful ones that's so easy and fun. And one of the things I love with a kindergarten class, you can have some people making a table. Some people can make little ones and call them chairs. And then somebody else can bring over the teacups and you have a little tea party. So makes for a great activity for little kids.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then, Bernard, have you got your Jacob's ladder down? Not yet? Okay, we could work on that a little. This is sort of the gateway string figure that almost all kids want to learn. It's called Osage 4 Diamonds in the traditional literature from the Osage people in the middle of the country. And we know it in the English-speaking world as Jacob's Ladder or the Eiffel Tower. So for this, we want the big string again, open up so it's not doubled. And go back to position 1, both thumbs.
I can't do that right now. I
Little
got
fingers. Oh, okay.
no.
So now we crisscross with the pointers.
What?
We're opening A.
Opening A. That's easy. I'm already on opening A.
Okay. Now drop thumbs. And you have that plain X. Now this is a tricky part. Turn your fingers so they point up at the ceiling. Make sure the string that's on your pointer finger is up about on the second knuckle, not all the way down at the base. Because then what you want to do is turn your hands away from you like this So it's really easy to see that bottom string under all the other strings. And now you're going to take your thumbs and go under, just like you did for the table, but only come up high enough to get that one bottom string and bring it back towards you. Now it should look like this with one straight string going across between the thumbs, that X in the middle underneath the other straight string. Now with your thumbs, you go over the very first string, under the next to pick it up. Now drop little fingers. And it'll look sort of like this sunrise. And now little fingers come up and go over that bottom string and under the very next. Pull that down. A little broader sunrise. And now when you drop thumb,
You're muted. Drop thumbs.
can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay.
We only heard now drop.
Oh,
Talking and nothing.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
Happened with ours also.
Uh-huh.
Just gets off.
Right, this is our. Okay, I'm gonna have to do that all over.
Oh, did I lose you there for a minute, George?
No, I lost my way on the string.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
I'm
was.
hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Yeah, let's try it again. Oh, you've got your cat's whiskers, Bernard. That's great. If you've got the cat's whiskers, then you can get to the full Jacob's ladder really quick. Is that Wesley coming in? Hi, Wesley. Oh, she's trying to make off with a foot.
Would you like this?
It's good idea now for that.
Sit back here so you can see it. You like this thing? Yeah. You have to be away from her. Yeah,
Cat's
that's
whiskers.
Let's
Meow,
do
meow.
Let's practice.
Broken.
Fred, would you lead it again?
Yes, let's go back over the cat's whiskers. Start with just the thumbs, then the little fingers to make position 1. Now crisscross with the pointer fingers to make opening A. Drop the thumbs so you have the plain X. Now fingers go up and away. Make sure that bottom string is really easy to find. Thumbs go away from you under all the strings and then only up high enough to get that bottom string and come back towards you. And this is what it should look like. Straight strings across and then an X below.
I'm just trying to remember how to do it.
I know.
Now with the thumbs, you're going to go over the very first string and under the very next. Now, drop the little fingers,
Knew it.
and it should look like this, with a sort of Japanese sunrise pattern. Now, little fingers are going to come up over that very bottom string, and then under the very next. Pull that down. It gives a little curve to the sunrise horizon. And now when you drop thumbs, there's the cat's whiskers.
You don't have thumbs. You have scissors.
Now you want to do the next part?
Yeah.
Okay, so now with the thumbs, this is the trickiest part. With the thumbs, you're going to go over the first two strings and pick up the third. And it should look like that. You'll see two eyes starting to appear in the middle. Those are the first two of your 4 diamonds. Now you do a tricky move that's called the reach across. Pincers, I call that pincers when you use your thumb and pointer finger together to pick something up. So your pincers are going to reach across to the other thumb and take the string that is on the pointer finger closest to you and share it with the thumb. Now you have 2 on the back of this thumb. The bottom one comes up over the thumb. Then you reach across the other side and do the same thing. The one that is closest on the pointer goes over the thumb. The one that was already on the thumb goes over the thumb. And now when you open them up and move your thumbs a little further apart than the little fingers, you should see these 2 little triangles, one here and one here, right underneath the thumbs. You're going to hook your pointer fingers down into those triangles. Hook down in. Just hold them there. Now let go, little fingers, and then go down and up away from you. That's what makes the 4 diamonds appear. You got it, Bernard.
I think this one had to go.
Just drop pinkies.
You
And it turned to spot.
Okay. You just need to work on your spread here. And then there's a trick to get it apart without having any knots. If you take that string and set it down on something, I'm just going to pick up my knee. And then you take the straight string top and bottom and pull those. And then it'll all come apart without a knot.
Perfect.
Okay, I don't know how to do it.
Oh, you were so close.
It's clear that Bernard's better than I am.
Well, he's had a lot more lessons than you have, George.
I've had more practice than you have.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But now we are so close to being able to do this one and remember it. Let's do it again.
No. I'm already at opening day.
You did everything except for having your fingers in the right spot. Doing it over and over again is helpful to me.
Yes. And then one of the things I always say to kids, once they get to where they think they know it, the way to test if you really know it is try doing it with your eyes closed.
Mm.
If you can do it with your eyes closed, then you really know it.
Or try to teach your mom and dad to do it.
Yeah. I love that feeling. I've had many experiences of teaching, like at museums and events like that, where adults will come up and say, "Oh, I haven't done that in years," and they'll pick up the string, and their fingers actually remember. There really is kind of muscle memory in the fingers that will bring it back as soon as you got the string on your hands again.
Mm.
Actually, it's called Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
So what are you putting on top? What?
Yeah, our bodies are so much more, have so much more capacity for intelligence than we use them for.
Yes, one of the things that I learned in the first few months after recovering from my heart attack was I found quite amazing information that there are actually more nerve endings that go in and out of the heart than in and out of the brain.
Hmm.
And there is it makes sense in the way, if you think about how the autonomic nervous system that controls those immediate reactions that you need to have instantly, if you get a message that comes just to the heart of distress in one of the extremities, the impulse to do whatever rescue needs to happen can come straight back from the heart instead of having to go on a much further path up to the brain and then back down and around. It really is a wonderful response system that doesn't depend on what we usually think of as brain mind kind of heady stuff. It's really a bodily response that's still driven by nerves and
Mhm.
our communication network inside the body.
Wesley has her eyes closed.
Oh, great.
She made a swimming pool.
Yes.
Looks like caterpillar. Caterpillar.
I'm gonna try.
I did not make a swimming pool, Law. Look, stop it for now. Law, can I stick my finger through the no? Law, the mountain.
I'm doing something.
I'll squiggle
did
it
it?
like a caterpillar.
How do you do?
Yes.
Right.
Look, I did not.
Oh, I love that one.
You thought it was a swimming pool.
Oh, you want to show me? She did the mountain. Is that what it's called? Wesley did the mountain.
Oh, all right. That's a wonderful one.
The butterfly.
Yeah,
She did the string figure called caterpillars.
caterpillars. I don't remember that.
Caterpillar. About the one you loop over your arm and you do all that.
Oh yeah, there's a bird.
Yeah, you go like this.
This one we go like this and pull it through.
I can do it. Whoops. Didn't work. There.
Oh, yes, there is that loop around the arm where then it comes free. I've never learned that. I've always wanted to, but I never have.
Wesley, show Fred what you were talking about.
Okay,
You told us a story about a caterpillar.
Yeah. Show me, Wesley.
How do you do it, Wesley? Wesley. This one.
Oh, yes. Right.
Can you do it? Can I do it?
Yeah. I'm. Now I'm remembering. That was the one. The figure is from Africa, and it's called. I keep meaning to look this up so I have a little more info. It's a gorge. It represents traditionally in Central Africa, I believe it's a tribe in the Congo.
Look.
And it's the Soka Gorge or something like that. But I made up a story from that about a caterpillar. She was the wiggly caterpillar and always wanted to try to get the other caterpillars to watch her wiggle, but they weren't very interested because they could do that too. So she kept trying to think of how she could get the other caterpillars to watch her wiggle. So she had this idea, and she draped herself over a branch. So now she could wiggle both ends at once. And she just thought that was the coolest thing. But then this little bird came flying by and was very interested. That's the biggest caterpillar I've ever seen. And swept down and grabbed the caterpillar. And now she was caught. But she wanted to get loose. And so she kept wiggling and wiggling. And finally, she wiggled loose on one side. And then she wiggled loose on the other side. But that clever bird saw what she was doing and swept down and grabbed her and caught her again. And now she was caught in the beak of the bird.
Go down.
But then the caterpillar wiggled loose on this side and then on the other side. And the bird again saw her and went round behind and grabbed her and round behind the other side. And now she was caught in two places and she couldn't even wiggle. And then she remembered the other trick that caterpillars can do. And she turned herself into a cocoon. And then this is a story where I need another person here to grab the middle, because then somebody grabs the middle and she becomes a butterfly and gets to fly away. So Wesley, have you told it with that story, or have you made up your own story using that figure?
No, I've just been playing with it.
You just like the figure. Yeah, it's a wonderful figure. That was one of the reasons I think why I got so interested in it, because it's such an unusual construction. I've never found another figure that's made in quite that way. The other, another story I thought of that I don't think you've heard, Wesley and Bernard, is a story that I tell whenever it rains. There are always little worms that come up out of the ground, and they stick their head up to see, is the sun out or not? And if it's been raining, that's when they come up and they go crawling around because they like it all wet. But if they stick their heads up and see that the sun is out, then they just go back under the ground.
That's a string figure.
That's a string figure. It starts like this, around the little finger. Then you pick it up, turn the top one over, go in, top one over, go in. Then you come around the thumb and go back the other direction, looping over, looping over, looping over. And then you take your thumb out, and that's a little worm sticking up. And then you pull down, and it all comes loose.
You go down again?
You have to go, you're going towards you, far one over, next finger in, far one over, next finger in, far one over, next finger in. Then you loop straight from there over the thumb. And then this time it's the near one that goes over. The pointer goes in, and now the near one goes on top when you go over the middle finger, near one over on the ring, near one over on the little finger, and then they should all come through. And if you change the direction, your fingers will get caught.
You know these by heart?
Looks like you're making a slingshot, Bernard.
A Bernard slingshot.
Speak up a little bit and ask your question again, Fred. Yes, you have to speak louder. Fred.
Did you learn these string figures when you were older?
I learned most of the figures that I've been teaching just since I started studying string when I was in college. But I did know Jacob's Ladder as a child, and I also knew the cat's cradle game where you go back and forth between two people. But I don't think I knew very many others when I was your age.
One.
Are there lots of them on YouTube?
Oh yes, in fact, you can easily be overwhelmed and actually led a bit astray because there are thousands and thousands of instructional videos that are not very good. But the ones that I recommend, there's a channel on YouTube called Mom's Minivan. And I don't remember her name, but the woman who does that has all sorts of other craft and activities for kids, but she has some of the best string game tutorials. She has a whole collection of them. And there's also a man from Australia who has a YouTube channel called Why Not, KNOT, and he's also very good, very clear instructions and good video. And then another thing that I wanted to mention, there's a group in Chile who I have corresponded with and who are doing an international string festival. They did one last March, and I'll post a link in the chat to the video from that one before. They've done some wonderful things. They have string figure enthusiasts from all over the world who tell a little story or give a little demonstration of a figure and then do a very nice, slow instruction on how to construct that figure. So I'll be preparing some videos for that and contributing. They're going to do another issue in November. So they're collecting versions now.
I mean, what is this? What are we on? It's called on Facebook.
I'm going to go look for that link right now.
It's about to be super late to Fred. Is there anything else you want to talk to everyone about? Because it's about time for dinner.
Fred, can you do that that worm one again?
The worm one?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, hold on.
Show me the figure again.
Yeah. So start with the loop just on the little finger. Now you're going to pick it up and
Bernard, don't interrupt.
Go do your
Bernard,
thing.
I said don't interrupt.
the string that's on the back, it's on the back of the little finger, comes over the one that's on the front of the little finger, and then you put the ring finger in, and again, take the one that's in back up toward you over, and then put the middle finger in. The one in back comes up over, and the pointer goes in. And now you take those two straight over the thumb, then put in the pointer finger. Now this time the one that's in front goes over, and you go over the middle finger. The one in front goes over the ring finger. One in front goes over the little finger. And then when you let go, it should all come loose. You let go of the thumb, it should all come loose.
Except for this part. Leslie.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm
Oh, I was so curious what you've been doing.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna try and do this regularly, and I'll keep putting up announcements and sharing.
Who else did you invite?
Oh, I invited a lot of other people, but nobody else came.
Come on.
That's fine. Just us is plenty. I'm really happy to just have the few of us here. That's great to share.
I think I'm going to go talk to some of my grandchildren and see if they've played with string.
Yes. Well, and you can also direct them to my site, which is stringstories.net. I don't have instruction about doing figures there, but I have a lot of discussion about the history and the reason why I'm so excited about teaching string. There's it's a wonderful way to encourage very simple fantasy play,
Right.
which is really powerful for brain development, executive function, all of those psychological benefits come in really clearly from this, besides just the fine motor control and those kinds of dexterities that are really important.
I'll have to ask them, try them. They range in age from 16 to 4, so I'll just have to
Oh yeah, that's a big range.
see what their space area. You have to see which age group is most susceptible.
All right.
Anyway, great to see you, Fred. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
Good night, Fred.
Good night, you guys. Thank you so much for coming. This was wonderful.
George, wonderful to meet you. We'll see you soon. Yes,
Bye.
please do.
Right. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.